Hello everyone, this is Naomi Denmother of EQ2 Traders Corner with part 1 of 5 of the video walkthrough of the Scrivener's Tale, which is a 24 quest line for trade skills in the Chaos Descending expansion. It will begin with mail from Gita Borel, which I'll find buried in all of this other beta buff stuff, asking for your help. This part does not give you the quest. All it does is gives you the unlock item for Mirist, which will poof from your inventory, but it has done an account-wide unlock for your account so that you can access Mirist, the Great Library. There's an adventurer version path as well. They get a separate type of email with a little quest starter. But for us, you just get this mail going, help! Come find us in the Mirist library. And you take your nearest wizard spire to Mirist. Once you are there, you're going to scurry through the zone. You will not see your mount. Make sure that your mount buff is up so that you've got the speed from it. Look at her little feet fly. But the mount itself will not display in this zone because of the potential for abuse. People parking their mounts on quest mobs and ground spawns and things like that. So to make things a little bit easier and a little bit less laggy in this zone, mounts do not display in Mirist. I have gone to the west side of the zone, which is where the elevator is. And then I am scurrying over to the south end of the second floor. Excuse me. Once I am in the South Wing catalog, I am going over to the Smith's Gallery teleporter. And there is Miss Gita and the quest feather. So I talk to her. I'm going to rush through the line. I want you to read this on your own. There's some very good information here, some good lore. There's a nice quest line, storyline, with little stray bits of humor hiding in different spots. It's a lot of fun, but I will recommend that you do it yourself. Anyway, the short version is lots of librarians are sick. The ones that are left are overloaded. Gita gives you a little bit of history about the library and how it was cut off from the world for generations and so forth. And then she asks you to help her figure out how to make some special Mirist trunks that she's heard about, but she's never seen the recipe for. And she wants you to find the recipe and the ingredients. They should be somewhere around. I mean, she doesn't know, but, you can find them. She's pretty vague. She's a little distracted. Anyway, you find the recipe scroll there. Then you go over here and you find the high quality firing sheet. The next thing you need is prepared malachite shards, which are on this fuel merchant right here, Oline Wanderweaver. They will cost 12 plat. You will get reimbursed for that as part of the quest reward. So you buy them for 12 plat, then you have to go back down into the South Wing catalog, go across the room to the Crafter's Gallery. This also gets you used to the fact that there are 2 galleries and both of them have crafting equipment and different NPCs in them. So I find the planar binding kit. There were a couple of them glowing. Then I find one of the latch bindings. Again, there were a couple glowing. Then I teleport back down. Run across the way again. Go back to Gita. She then hands you an emboldened spellbook, which is the final thing that you will need to actually make the trunk animated once you're done. And then you will need to craft once you scribe the recipe. All recipes will drop in your books, or drop in your bags. They will not auto-scribe. The only thing you need to provide are the 50 celestial sandpaper. And excuse me if things aren't set up properly at first here. I did the recording for the first chunk. I did the recordings for all of them, actually, and then realized that my microphone had stopped working somewhere in there. So I had to redo it, and then I flubbed up on the first part, and so I had to pick another alt and redo the redo, because I had already completed the quests. So I just ran and created a beta buff character. She has nothing, no harvesting skills, no harvesting tools, no crafter's cloak or anything like that. So she's going to take a little longer at things. But you'll notice that was a relatively quick combine if you're used to the Plains of Prophecy stuff. It's back to a normal speed again. You have this glowy green spot on the ground. Click on it to place the trunk. Target the non-operational trunk. Use the emboldened spell book. And there you go. He now has legs. He's going to wander around. You'll see some of them wandering around the library from now onwards. Bada boom, bada bing. You're done the first quest. Then you offer to do more things, and she asks how you are about finding lost things. I really don't suggest that you tell her that you get lost in a wet paper bag. Just follow the dialogue. Give a reasonable response. Then go find one of her missing workers. Rag, Y-R-A-G, is somewhere on the first floor. So over the edge you go because it's faster, and I got lucky. There he is. You'll notice that I do not have the buff up for the Jan illusion for the pre-order, so I plummet like a rock. Oh well. But anyway, there he is. He's a cute little snail. She didn't bother telling you that. He goes around the outside ring here. Just round and round and round until you finish with him. So you can always guess wrong and end up taking the long way around to find him. Take the elevator back up to the second floor, hang a right, so you're going to the south. Back to the south wing and Gita. You are going to do a lot of back and forth on this. She's involved in most of this first part, and at least the start and finish on all the other chunks of the quests that I'll be documenting. Go over. He's a bit slow. What can we do about it? You suggest a spell. She suggests that she's got an item that she knows that will work for him. She gives you a recipe for enchanted running shoes. Maybe she knows something you don't. He's a snail, so running shoes don't really sound all that smart, but she's the boss. She apparently knows what she's doing. So, running shoes on the loom. You will need to beg, borrow, steal, raid your Obulus Frontier Garden, whatever. Get yourself 4 Nimbic Hide, 10 Strangler Root, 12 Silvered Fleck, 5 Reef Clusters, and 50 Celestial Filament. Since these are relatively quick single combines, I'm not even going to pause while I do the crafting for this part. I'm just going to breeze through and hope that I don't finger flub that way. The longer I do this, the more danger it is for me to pause the recording because I may hit the wrong key and stop the recording instead of pausing it. And I've already tried once tonight to tack 2 pieces of video together to save myself from having to re-record this. And my video editing skills are kind of weak. It just did not sound right. So I decided that I was just going to redo this. And then I will remember that I'm not on autopilot. I am not going back to Gita. I am going to go give the boost to Rag after I plummet like a lead balloon again. Wander past somebody's training dummy that they somehow managed to get into here. And here, Mr. Snail. Come out, wherever you are. I have running shoes for you. Right about now, I wish that I could speed myself up even more. Yeah, I guessed wrong. I went 99% of the way around, basically. right click on him, left click on him, whichever, whatever, and you basically get the message. Nothing happens. If only snails could wear shoes. Gee, you should have listened to that inner voice sooner and realized that Gita's so overwhelmed with everything she's trying to do because of all the sick custodians that she wasn't really thinking straight. So now back you go to tell her that, wrong answer, let's try this again. But she really is confused because she's like, and? Like, what's wrong with him being a snail? And then on to the next quest. And she decides that this time your idea of the spell is right. She gives you a recipe scroll of Enhanced Spirit of the Wolf, and sends you off harvesting. For this step, you will be able to harvest in any of the 4 overland zones. So you will basically want to pick whichever one you feel most comfortable with. There is a walkthrough of the 4 overland zones on my site and on YouTube. I've got the link on the site, and I've got the video, of course, on YouTube that gives you a crafter's tour of the 4 elemental planes, so you can get a feel for what the zones are like, what the mobs are like, how bad the harvesting will be, and so forth. Then you go to the north wing if you're going to earth, fire, or wind, or the south wing if you're going to go to Detroxylus, disease. And you pick a zone and you go harvest. And I will pause here. There's no sense wasting your time on this. I'll be back shortly. Once you have all the harvested items, you will need 50 celestial incense and combine on an engraved desk. Fortunately for me, Grag is really close. You will need to target him and then cast the spell from your quest helper. I'm trying to get into place here so you can get a good look at what he does, because bada boom bada bing, he gets bigger, nastier looking, and takes off into the distance. Bye-bye. You will not see him again. At all. He's done. He's off in the distance working his little snaily tail off, or something like that. You will no longer see him. You will see that same model out in Vegarls in the Earth and Badlands, as well as one other Earth model. And in Doomfire, you will find some nice fire snails with some pointy shells. And that's pretty much it for the snails of Norath. Once you're done, of course, I've headed to the elevator on autopilot, and I'm almost all the way back to her before I say anything, but I'm going back to Gita to hand in Escargot Overclocking. Then she sends you over to Raymond, however you want to pronounce it. And I'm going to stop for a moment just so you can see what this backpack looks like that this guy is wearing, because you're about to earn this backpack. It's an 88 slot backpack, and this is the appearance for it. So once you've done that, there's the backpack, and he wants some help. He has books that he needs to protect if he is to be able to go out and explore on his own in the new lands that have been reopened for the first time in generations. He can't leave his books unprotected, so he's going to do some protective coating and so forth on them. You will find 2 recipes have been given to you. One is for protective coating, and the other is for the decay suspension scroll. And you're going to be very literal-minded here because of the way he gave you the instructions. And you are going to harvest 25 each reef cluster, silvered fleck, and dew palm lumber. And then immediately, do not pass go. The quest journal will update, and you have to harvest them all over again. 1 batch for the first recipe, 1 batch for the second recipe. You don't get the option to combine them together. You have to go the way you were instructed, so away you go. I will be back after I finish harvesting. It's a little slow because I started with no harvesting skill on this beta buffed character, so I'll be back shortly. Once you are finished harvesting, make sure you're reading your quest journal carefully. You will need to first create the decay suspension scroll, and then you will create the protective coating. Do not create them in the wrong order, or you won't get your update for the protective coating. You will need 50 celestial incense for the suspension scroll. You will need 50 celestial coal for the protective coating. Once you have both, you go back to Ramen, tell him you're done. He says, give me a moment, I'm going to prepare everything, casts his spells, coats his books, so forth. Boom, you're done. That's the first 4 quests in the Scrivener's Tale for the Chaos Descending Trade Skill Timeline. That concludes this part of it. The full write-up, including shopping lists and everything else, are on eq2.eqtraders.com. I will be back with part 2 shortly.